You're watching Assembly TV 2012. I'm Matthew Walsh, also known as Dot Waffle. What we've just watched is the 1K demo competition. We occasionally call these things intros for reasons we'll go into in a minute. First of all, I just want to say this is replacing the 64K competition, which we've had in previous years. Somebody who will have watched the 64K competition at other parties, in particular Revision, would have gone, why have you done that? Well, last year we only had one entry, and it was a bit controversial. That we cancelled the 64K, we moved on to the 1K, and we had 23 entrants, I believe, which is an absolutely fantastic number. To discuss these facts with me and potentially argue against my my love of it is my good friend Frankie and my good friend Truck.
Hello.
So, Truck, to start off with,
Yes.
64K going away, there were certain members of our community...
Wait. It didn't go away.
It did not.
It's been temporarily replaced. Go ahead.
The 64K going away for this year at Assembly caused a bit of an upset with a few people, mainly those who probably were working on something for Assembly. The 1K coming in has obviously shown there is a massive market for it, for the 1K.
Would you like me to comment on that?
I would like.
I would say that it shows that people have embraced making 1Ks at this point. It is a tremendous amount of less work than a 64K. It isn't just 64K times, or 64 times smaller. And it isn't 64 times less work. It's significantly less. You have one effect, possibly two effects, if you manage to get sound in there. But a 1K is basically a one-shot deal. You have setting up the screen, setting up the audio, and displaying something, capturing everybody's attention, and that's it. 64K, you can put nuances in. You can, they can be longer. Most 1Ks, it's very difficult, and most people are not going for a long thing, not even a minute. It's just a quick bit. So in many ways, yes, we had a lot of entries, but we didn't have that much content overall compared to a 64K compo with 4 entries. Very fair.
Frankie, just to basically echo that, you've been at Assembly a couple of times. Is it 2 or 3? I can't remember.
A couple is 2.
A couple is 2. This is true. But we've obviously met at various other parties throughout Europe, and we've seen quite a few 4K and 64Ks. And I think it's fair to say that 64K started to be dominated by certain groups. There were some things out there that were by new and upcoming people, but the people who were going to win each compo were the same people.
But let me jump into our targets here, which is right around the corner, and go back 1 year from now with the 4K competition, and your words, they were all one-trick ponies. Guess what you have created now? You have created a huge bag of one-trick ponies. That's what you have, and it will be. Now, as such, 1Ks aren't new. Maybe they are for the quick PC world, but when you look at Amiga, certainly Atari, they have had boot block competitions for years, and guess what that is? That is a 1K compo. And if you look at that, what was being done there, and kudos to Spaceballs for the 1K Amiga boot block, by the way.
Yes.
So if you look at that was done in a boot block over there, this was nothing. So yes, it's a firstie, and you can see that they're all firsties. This is what I compare to, say, the older Amiga intros, which would still mail swap with stamps, which I don't think many people remember, where you had like, oh, I have a new effect of 9 bouncing balls instead of 7, and they're almost touching. So that's what you go for, and you release it and you say, yay, I am Mr. Big Programmer, I did something new, show off to the world. And otherwise, well, now I go back into my cave and work on new thing. And yes, that's what you have now. It's like, hey, I can have Fractal Zoomer and soundtrack. But no, to repeat his truckness, there is no flow, there is no content, there is no design, although I was very happy not to see many coder colors.
Yeah.
Because that was my fear. Well, we're going to have blue and orange.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my fear. And it's like, well, somebody talked to a designer and they said, no, go with shades of green.
Well, there was the TBC one that we just saw that obviously used the whole, what's it called, the bloom effect. I know it was written in December or whatever. But what I've been trying to subconsciously do to both of you is try and offend you in some way to say stop comparing to 64K and 4K, and that you've both just compared them to 4K entries that I've said in the past.
I thought you introduced me to this and saying that's what you would like us to do.
Yes, this is true. I was hoping for a bit of controversy. I mean, what I would say is you're absolutely right. 4K last year, I saw it was Anglerfish by, I can't remember who it was.
Cubicle.
I loved that, but it was orange and blue, just like you said. One Trick Pony, we've seen very...
Cubicle then was nominated for 2 4Ks in the Scene.org Awards for last year, so definitely not a one-trick pony.
Okay.
And also, well, if you want a controversy, you can get one. But you say, well, I'm going to be afraid that some groups will dominate the 64K. Now, looking at the awards from yesterday, well, yes, some people can perhaps dominate it, not for 64K or demo or whatever, but, well, that just means they're getting a too easy ride from everybody else.
This is true. However, when we look at the demo competition, the last 5 years at Assembly, if you ignore everything by ASD and Fairlight, because they always come up with something brand new and whatever.
No, they don't. They oftentimes rehash the same thing just to win Assembly. Go ahead.
But they do a different story each time.
I'm going to argue that they possibly do not. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like, hey, instead of vehicle A, I have vehicle B, and we change blue to orange. Yay, no demo.
Is that another ribbon? Is that another?
Yes, essentially it can be. But other groups that are up and coming, are they given a fair shake? Is that what you're trying to say?
It is. What I'm basically trying to say is the 1K, you just identified a region where somebody has created one effect, they've managed to create something and enhance it to the point where it is ready for the big screen. Are we going to see in 1K the development we saw in 4K and 64K at the detriment of the demo compo?
We might. And what we as fans need to do is perhaps not focus on the big groups, because the big groups, we know they're going to be doing things. But perhaps we should be encouraging and pushing the other groups to explore new avenues, to continue to chase up the tree after your Fairlights, after your ASDs. It's hard work. And we need to make sure that people understand that it is rewarding, not just for, let's face it, everybody's just floored with some of the things that ASD or Fairlight or Farbroush or MFX, Keulers, the big names, everybody looks for those.
Yeah, but then they were not in the 1K.
No, but the up and comings, okay?
That's your breeding ground, that's what I say.
Yeah, we want to make sure that people know, look, you may not have made it to the top, but hey, we enjoyed watching that anyway. And maybe if we didn't enjoy watching it, we shouldn't perhaps make a rather large rant, which people will then see, that says you shouldn't be chasing after the... I'm the one that made this rant at one point about... Pyrotech, following the ASD repeat formula. They came back the next year and they actually did not follow that. And they then said to me, are you happier with that? And I was, but perhaps I should have not tried to bury them with that. And as fans and all of us that watch demos, when you see something and you enjoy it, make sure that you let people know. It means something because that's a tremendous amount of hard work. Of course, don't go overboard, especially if folks are maybe not wanting to hear everybody tell them this. But just let folks know that you are liking what they do, even if maybe you didn't like the demo, you like that they're making intros and so forth.
Would it be fair to say, I'm a big fan of things like, what was the Conspiracy 64 cable? I think it was called Behind the Curtain from a couple of years ago.
Which would describe? Conspiracy's made really. Several.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it was called Behind the Curtain. It was. I'll describe it later because otherwise it'll
all right. I don't know which one you're talking about.
Okay, but when you think of conspiracy, you think of a certain pattern. When you think of Fairlight, you tend to think of particles these days.
Yes,
because where they've gone.
Before that, there was ribbons.
Yeah, indeed. In ASD, you tend to think of almost like a play. When you look at what was the film called with Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor? Moulin Rouge.
Yes.
It's very that style for me. It's very hard to get that kind of feeling from a 1K because you haven't got models, you haven't got this. Where can somebody take 1K?
No, we don't have them yet.
Yet.
That's it.
Prototypes models.
What we have now is we have one effect things, but when you see that, okay, some of them have no sound at all, and people are calling out for Jennifer in the hole. Others have like one tone, and there were a few which actually had harmony in music, so that's already a small evolution that you will see, and you will get multiple scenes, you will get music in there, you will get some direction. This will take some time to grow, of course, so don't throw everything away right now, but it'll take some time, but you will also limit the number of guys who can actually do that and who actually want to spend the time and resources to get that done. That's not that easy to just, I will make a 1K and I have a flyby over a city, I have a rotating cube, I have a rotating fractal, and I have a Madonna's jumping out of a bathtub with a knife in the chest. So that's the.
Well, what you said earlier about the boot block code as well was, I seem to remember on the Amiga, the way the discs were read is that they had no intersector gaps, so it read an entire track at once.
Yes.
And the idea was that in that track you could fit, in your boot track you could fit the crack as it was 20 years ago for a game and read something of that. And I can't remember how big the Amiga track used to be. I think it was half a K, wasn't it?
It was the boot block is two 512K tracks.
Two 512K.
And it has to have a checksum at the end, so you lose a few bytes there, and you actually have to have a thing that says it's executable.
Yeah,
so you lose
you need a magic
bytes.
marker that says, hey.
But it is essentially 1K.
512 bytes, not 512K.
That's right, 512 bytes, yes.
So essentially you're fitting it in that.
No, just slightly less than 1K because you have two of them.
Yeah, well, that's the same what they're doing now, because if you just on a Windows machine and Linux for the same thing, you always have a file header, which is always bigger. So what you have here now is also technology to throw things out of your header, which just says the bare minimum, hey, you can boot this, or hey, Mr. Operating System, you can run me.
Yeah, but if you strip the ELF header or
you're also doing the same. You are throwing out things off your header and stuffing useful things in, like compact code. Of course, your packer should do most of that for you.
So what I'm trying to bring it around to, I guess I'm saying, is people are considering 1K as new. And it's not. It could be one of the oldest competitions that's around there.
That's correct.
Because it's something that was left behind because it was no longer relevant because we didn't use discs.
On PC.
On PC, correct. And Mac and Android and whatever other platforms.
Does Android have boot blocks?
This is true. This is true. You do get boot animations, but it's not quite the same.
No, it's
So what I'm basically saying is, are we seeing not necessarily a return to the old days, but we've got to the stage now where we can go back and look at things we did before and improve on them. Is that something that we could see in the next couple of years?
We might. I think it's more of a separation that we now have something where a single coder who enjoys doing this can make something again. There has been some criticism by some folks that the people who enjoy making demos because they enjoy coding or hardcore math, they have nowhere to go in the design-dominated world. And this is an avenue for them. You still may have something like Mellon Design on the Amiga who turned things upside down by simply using design. They used unusual colors, but they always had design. And People that looked at their classics years later sometimes said, I was disappointed. I don't understand why this was so groundbreaking. And the answer was, it broke away from the hardcore math, the hardcore, oh, I've just removed the borders, the things that weren't necessary. If you don't even have a Commodore 64 in the early days, removing the borders sounds boring. But it was a huge thing. But explaining this takes a long time.
Sure.
Having design, you don't need to explain it. So I think the 1Ks may allow people who enjoy just getting something out there, making a neat trick. Your hacks or display hacks, that's really kind of what this is. I don't want to go there because the people that misconstrue that display hacks and intros are the same thing are going to be confused. But essentially, this is the type of thing where somebody could make something like that, be on the screen, have something, there you go. I did it for a week beforehand because that's all I had time for, and I still had something to enter in the competition.
So this is a little bit of a personal question. When was your first assembly? 2003, 4?
2004.
2004. I'm not sure whether it was 2003 or 4. I'm trying to work out in my head. There was a 4K by A&D called Zoom 3.
I believe that was 64K.
No, it's 4K, definite.
Are you okay?
Well, he definitely did a 4K. It might not have been Zoom 3.
He did do a 4K, yes. Zoom 3, I believe, was 64K.
I've just heard in my ear, it was indeed a 4K 2003. Some
Okay,
people are
there we
better
go.
than I am. That 4K blew everybody away in the fact that it seemed to have models and music and everything all in one go. And it... Correction, it was 64K.
I told you.
Well, what was there was definitely a 4K one, either 2002 or 2004.
It was either that or Fire and Ice, but I believe Fire and Ice was disqualified.
Ah, okay, right. So we look back on that, and it blew people away because it did stuff that people didn't think they could do in 4K or 64K, whatever we were going to do. And we saw back at Breakpoint 2009, 2010, when we got not just Elevation, which is what everybody talks about, but Atrium by Thingy and Loonies.
We had Salt by Loonies.
Yes.
We had Atrium. We had the birthday, that 1K that was a birthday track that was like 512 bytes, and actually did have something like 8 scenes in it. I don't remember that. And then, of course, Spongy, which showed up a few, I don't remember which year, it might have been 2010, at Function. And we've seen a lot of good stuff. And yes, it's coming from generally the same guys, but this is the great thing, folks. You actually can talk to these guys, or they have given seminars on how they did their effects, and not here's the code, but here's the idea behind it, here's how we were able to construct it, so that somebody can then take that knowledge and challenge them. And really that's what the competition part of the demo scene is about. It's friends challenging friends to improve on the previous things.
So, you've obviously been to a great number of demo parties. You have got around.
I might have been to more than one, yes.
And I think it's fair to say that both Frankie and I have been to a great range of demo parties as well.
Yes.
We are pretty much veterans.
Yes, we are slowly getting too old for this.
I am not getting too old for this, so.
Yes, but you had your talk, now it's my turn.
So we're looking back over the last... I worked out earlier that this is my 10th assembly I've organised, 11th assembly. I've been watching the demo scene for 20 years. I kind of got into it when I got my Amiga 1200 in 92, 93, something like that. I've seen the scene go lots and lots of places, and I didn't think I could be shocked. And I say that every year. I thought nothing else new could happen, and yet you turn up at a demo party and see something like an Atrium and an Elevation or whatever. What do you think is going to happen over the next couple of years? Do you think we're going to see more big parties? Do you think we're going to see more little parties? Do you think where do you think demo scene's going?
Well, sadly, the customs they confiscated my crystal ball, so I can't use that.
That's a shame.
That's a shame. But it's looking as being old, arrogant bastards that we are, just going up and down. It's like a sine wave. We had in in the mid-90s, you had all the small little Commodore 64 parties which were coming up, and they ran for 2 or 3 years, and then it was gone, and you had Mega Symposium over here and Assembly Helsinki, and that was about it. And then it diversified again, and you got the Norwegian parties again. So it's a sine wave. Now we are back in the good zone with all the smaller parties popping up left and right. Some will survive, some will not. For instance, for me, with Rewired, as long as it's fun, we will continue. But it's the same for the intros. We have seen. Well, don't forget, 64K. It started off as 40K.
Sure.
On the Amiga, so that was already an evolution that they grew in size because, well, 64K was what the PC did, and that in that days at the party, the big church of Denmark said, well, no, you have to go 64K. And then, okay, that's getting too easy. We're going down to 4K, and now it could be, well, let's dangle our feet in the water and see over here what the 1K does, because we have had experiments with 32 bytes, 256 bytes, 512 bytes. If you read the poets on that, then and yes, those are even more extreme one-trick ponies. Because they will only have one effect and crash your PC at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's yes, we are constantly evolving, obviously.
But what I think I'm aiming at is that a big demo, a big 64K, a big 4K, people wait to the big parties. And you only tend to see, and I know this is not universal by any stretch of the imagination, but you only see the big ones at the big parties. And for the 1K, because there isn't really anything, there's such a low barrier at the moment, you can try and hit and hit and hit.
No.
You're going to see stuff at X, you're going to see stuff at Sundown, you're going to see stuff at Revision.
Okay, but then not true. You get great stuff. Just look at the awards where they released. They were not all released at the bigger parties.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
Well, I think we've got to end it there. Thank you very much for both coming on. The one thing I absolutely want to stress to everybody watching out there is, if you are interested in the demo scene, come and say hello. There's the old school arena upstairs on the 3rd floor. There's a fantasy party outside that we can't mention, but I'm sure you'll know about.
I have the scene booth.
We have the scene booth, which is about exit 112, 113
right.
around the ring.
112.
Worst case, if you see me walking around, come and say hello. I'm always willing to come and have a chat. We'd love you to get involved with the demo scene. There's poet.net, there's Bitfellas, there's so many places you can go and do stuff. The demo scene is somewhere that you can have a lot of fun. But anyway, that's enough from me jabbering on. You're watching AssemblyTV 2012. We're going to go to the real wild competition. I've been Matthew Walster. Cheers, guys.
Kiitos.
Kiitos paljon.
Whatever. look at my t-shirt.